You ever get that feeling? Like she's into you, but then she acts like nothing's happening? Like she sends these signals, little looks, quick touches, subtle shifts in tone. But the moment you think, yeah, she's definitely feeling this, she pulls back, changes the subject, maybe even mentions another guy? Listen, what if I told you? She's not being confusing, she's being deliberate. Not to play games, but because desire doesn't always come out in words, especially from women. The truth is, a woman can want you, deeply, physically, emotionally, but never say it out loud. Not to protect you, to protect herself. Now here's where most guys mess up. They think desire looks obvious. They expect direct compliments, bold flirting, the kind of stuff you see in a rom-com. But real attraction, the kind that keeps her awake at night thinking about you, it's disguised, hidden in plain sight. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll miss it, every single time. That's why today I'm going to expose 5 hidden signs she desires you. Not the cliché ones, not the stuff you've heard a million times on TikTok or in some recycled dating thread. We're going deeper. We're pulling this straight from field-tested strategies, from seduction psychology, and yes, from guys like Robert Greene, Zan Perrian, David Dita, and even the controversial but effective insights of the pickup world. We're going to decode the subtle cues, the unconscious behaviors, the patterns even she doesn't realize she's showing. Because once you learn to read these signals, really read them, you'll never doubt yourself around women again. Let's be honest, women are masters of indirect communication. They've had to be. Society raised them that way. They hint, they suggest, they imply. But they rarely say, I want you. So if you're the kind of man who wants to see through the mask, who wants to know when a woman truly wants you, without guessing, without playing it safe, without missing your shot, then this video is going to change the way you see female behavior forever. But be warned, once you see these signs, you can't unsee them. You'll start noticing them everywhere. At work, in the gym, even with women you thought weren't interested. And no, this isn't about manipulation. It's about awareness. It's about being a man who's tuned in to the unspoken language of desire, because that's where the real power lies. So now, let me take you inside the female mind, not with theory, but with raw insight. Let's talk about what women do when they want you badly, but don't want to look like they do. But before I dive into the first sign, let me ask you something. Have you ever had a girl act cold around you, kind of indifferent, but then she somehow always shows up where you are? She's never texting you first, but she's always there. You make a joke, and she barely reacts. But later, you hear from a friend that she couldn't stop talking about you? What if that wasn't a coincidence? What if that wasn't just mixed signals? What if that was the first layer of a deeply ingrained female strategy to protect her own desire while still expressing it? That's what we're decoding today, and we're starting right now. Here's what most men don't get. A woman's attraction often fights her logic. She might feel this powerful pull toward you, but her mind jumps in with resistance. Don't chase him. Don't be easy. Don't look desperate. So instead of saying, I want you, she might tease you. She might ignore your texts. She might even bring up another guy to test how you react, not to push you away, but to see if you're strong enough to see through the act. Let me give you an example. There's this classic moment almost every guy has experienced. You're in a group setting, you're chatting with some friends, and she keeps popping into the conversation, throwing out random remarks, laughing at stuff that's not even funny, maybe even mocking you a little. To most guys, that looks like nothing. But if you study female attraction patterns, especially the ones laid out by mystery method or even deeper stuff in evolutionary psychology, it's clear. That's not disinterest, that's investment. It's her way of orbiting you, getting in your space without being obvious. Because direct pursuit, that's not her role. Not socially, not biologically. And here's the kicker. Women who desire you the most often hide it the best. Not because they don't want you to know, but because the stakes feel higher. She doesn't want to look foolish. She doesn't want to risk rejection, and sometimes she's not even ready to admit it to herself. So the signs you're going to learn in this video, they're not just about watching her behavior, they're about sensing what's underneath it. Understanding the emotional layers women rarely show on the surface. Now, don't worry, I'm not just going to speak in theory. With each hidden sign, I'll break it down. What it looks like, why it happens, and how to respond in a way that flips the script in your favor. You're going to walk away from this video knowing exactly how to spot the moment a woman crosses from casual to craving, even if her mouth is saying, "I'm not interested." We're not playing checkers here, brother. This is chess, and the board is already set. You want to know the first hidden sign? It's the one that's easiest to overlook because it's buried in conflict. I'm talking about emotional contradiction. She'll say one thing, but her body says another. She'll tease you for something, then linger in silence just a second too long. She'll mock your confidence, but stare straight into your eyes while doing it. This contradiction, it's not random. It's a tension she doesn't know how to manage. A tension between what she wants and what she thinks she's allowed to want. And that tension, that's where desire lives. In seduction psychology, they call this cognitive dissonance attraction. The mind pulls one way, the body another. She's fighting her own instinct, and the more she does, the more it leaks out in subtle ways. Her eyes linger on your mouth mid-conversation. She crosses her legs towards you without noticing. She throws out a sarcastic comment, then immediately looks away. Here's what's wild. She's not consciously trying to seduce you. She's trying not to. And that resistance creates friction. Friction is heat, and heat is desire. Now let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed how sometimes she mirrors your movements? Not just in an obvious way, but subtly. You take a sip, seconds later, so does she. You lean forward, and after a moment, she does too. That's not coincidence. That's a subconscious synchronization cue. Neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, explains that mirroring is a sign of rapport, but in romantic tension, it evolves into unconscious mimicry. It's her body trying to tune into yours, not to manipulate, but to connect, to align. And the more she desires you, the more these tiny patterns emerge. She'll match your tempo. She'll adjust her voice to your pitch. She'll laugh slightly too loud at something that wasn't even that funny, because her nervous system is reacting to your presence, not your words. Here's another one you might not expect. She starts talking about other women around you, a waitress, a friend, even an ex-girlfriend. She's gauging you, testing to see how you react, because she wants to know where she stands, not in your eyes, but in your hierarchy of desire. This is what Robert Greene would call a seductive shift. It's not about her revealing interest, it's about creating strategic contrast. She wants you to think about women. Why? Because the moment your mind enters that space, she can insert herself into that dynamic, without ever admitting it. And that brings me to one of the most misunderstood behaviors in the female arsenal. Playful dismissal. She calls you cocky. She says you're too smooth. She accuses you of being a player. Most guys hear that and think, she's not into me. But what she's actually doing is poking at your frame. She's checking to see if you break, if you get defensive, if you start apologizing, if you try to prove yourself. Because the moment you do, the game's over. But if you hold the line, if you smirk, stay grounded, and lean into it, you've just passed the test most men fail. This is where real attraction begins. Not when she compliments you, not when she laughs at your joke, but when she tests your masculine identity, and you don't flinch. Let me give you a real-world story. A guy I coached last year, let's call him Marcus, was at a rooftop party. There's this girl who keeps tossing snarky remarks at him all night. "You think you're charming, huh? You're so full of yourself." Classic playful resistance. He almost walked away, but instead he smiled, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "And yet, you're still standing right here." Boom. Her energy shifted. Why? Because he didn't just pass the test, he owned the interaction. Women crave a man who can hold emotional tension, because that tension is the crucible where chemistry is born. Now let's talk about another hidden sign, and this one's controversial. She disappears. Not forever, but just long enough to make you question where you stand. You had momentum. There was a vibe. Then she stops replying. Goes cold. Vanished. Most men think, she lost interest. But here's the thing. Desire doesn't always look like closeness. Sometimes it looks like retreat. A woman who's overwhelmed by her attraction will often pull away, especially if she's afraid of losing control. especially if she's not used to feeling this drawn to someone. This is what Zan Perian refers to as the feminine retreat. Not because she's done with you, because she needs to recover from the emotional charge you triggered in her. It's like a rubber band being stretched. The further it pulls back, the harder it snaps when it returns. But here's where most guys lose her. They chase. They double text. They try to fix the silence. And what happens? The mystery dies. The desire collapses. A woman who pulls back isn't always saying, "I'm done." Sometimes she's saying, "I need space to feel this more intensely." Your job isn't to rush in, it's to hold the frame, stay present, let the silence do its work. And when she comes back, because she will, you don't punish her. You welcome her like nothing happened. Because for her, that distance wasn't disinterest. It was emotional processing. Still with me? Because now we're going to hit the most deceptive sign of all. One you've probably experienced, but never understood. She becomes hyper-aware of herself around you. Suddenly, she's fixing her hair more often. She fidgets. Her voice softens. She loses her words. This isn't nervousness. It's arousal disguised as control. She's not afraid of you. She's afraid of what she's feeling because of you. Think about it. When was the last time you were genuinely attracted to someone and totally calm about it? Desire is disruptive. It pulls you out of your routine. And that's exactly what happens to her when you enter the room. So the next time a woman acts a little off around you, she's not being awkward. She's not disinterested. She's reacting to the magnetic field you've triggered. And if you're the kind of man who can stay centered while that's happening, without overreacting, without needing confirmation, you'll feel the power of knowing something she'll never say out loud. She wants you. Let's take this even further. Because sometimes, desire doesn't show up in her body. It doesn't show up in her silence. It shows up in her words. But not in the way you think. You see, women are masters of emotional disguise. They've been trained since they were girls to be subtle, to not appear too eager, to never admit attraction before the man does. But here's the secret no one tells you. Desire leaks. It seeps out in tone, in phrasing, in the way she frames her questions and stories. And if you're sharp, if you're dialed in, you'll pick up on what 99% of men miss. Let me show you how. When a woman is interested but hiding it, she starts asking you things that seem casual on the surface, but underneath they're loaded with emotional subtext. Like, "So, what kind of girls are you into?" Or, "Bet you've got a lot of girls after you, huh?" Or even, "I can't imagine you in a serious relationship." Now, most guys laugh these off. They think she's teasing or being curious, but what she's actually doing is probing. She's trying to locate herself in your mental landscape. Is she your type? Are you emotionally available? Do you see her the way she's starting to see you? This is what's called projected vulnerability. It's when a woman disguises her own curiosity about you by wrapping it in assumptions. David Data, in The Way of the Superior Man, talks about how the feminine tests the masculine not to shame it, but to feel its depth. So when she throws out something like, "You probably say that to all the girls," she's not insulting you. She's hoping, praying, that you'll respond with something real, something centered, something that grounds her emotional chaos. That's what creates attraction. Not just looks, not just charisma, but your ability to remain still while her emotions move. And let me tell you, when she starts talking about hypotheticals, she's revealing more than she thinks. Ever had a girl say, "If we dated, you'd probably drive me crazy?" Or, "If I kissed you right now, I'd ruin everything." She laughs. She plays it off. But behind the joke is the truth. She's thought about it. She's imagined it. She's running that fantasy in the background. And now she's testing to see if you felt it too. These aren't jokes. They're emotional smoke signals. And if you just laugh it off or freeze up, you kill the spark. But if you lean in, just enough to signal you felt it too, that's when the energy shifts. That's when the attraction gets real. Let me give you a practical move right here. Next time she says something like, "You're trouble, I can tell." Don't deflect. Look her straight in the eye and say, "Only if you don't know how to handle me." Boom. You've just acknowledged the subtext without breaking the frame. You didn't overinvest. You didn't backpedal. You stayed composed. And in that moment, she feels seen. Not for what she says, but for what she's really expressing underneath. That's power. That's masculine depth. That's how you turn a moment into chemistry. Now, let's go even deeper, because sometimes the biggest sign a woman desires you isn't in her words or her body, it's in her energy shift when you're not around. Pay attention to this. Let's say you talk to her one night. There's tension. There's connection. Nothing explicit happens, but the next time you see her, she's different. She dresses differently. She puts in more effort. She's more present. Her vibe is sharper. That's not random. That's adaptive attraction. It's her responding, instinctively, to the imprint you left on her. The moment you become emotionally relevant to a woman, she starts adjusting her energy around you. You didn't even have to ask, because what she's doing is preparing. Preparing for the possibility. Preparing to be seen again. Preparing to matter. And when a woman feels that shift inside, it doesn't show up as, "I like him." It shows up as energy modulation. You walk into a room, she fixes her posture. You sit next to her, she touches her neck. You speak, she listens more intently than she realizes. And what's wild is, she might not even be consciously aware she's doing it. But her body knows. Her nervous system knows. Because attraction doesn't ask permission. It moves beneath language, beneath logic. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Some of the most intense female desire shows up as emotional projection. What do I mean? She accuses you of being a flirt when she's the one thinking about kissing you. She says, "You probably say that to every girl," because she feels something unique and doesn't want to admit it. She pushes you away, not because she's repelled, but because she's scared of how much she's drawn to you. Sound familiar? That's projection. It's her outsourcing her desire, assigning her own feelings to you so she doesn't have to own them. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Women do this in attraction all the time. They mask their feelings by flipping the script. But underneath it all, the truth remains. You're in her head. And when you notice that pattern, when you realize she's talking about you but really revealing herself, you gain an edge. Because now, you're not reacting. You're reading. And a man who reads signals, without chasing validation, becomes the man she can't forget. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever walked away from a conversation and thought, "I don't know what just happened, but she was different with me"? That vibe you couldn't name, that shift you felt but couldn't explain, that was desire. Subtle, unspoken, but real. You just didn't have the language to decode it. But now you're learning to read the female matrix, not with your eyes, but with your awareness. And the more you refine that awareness, the more you'll start to feel when a woman's energy pulls toward you, even if her words push away. It's not about playing games. It's about understanding the rules already being played by her subconscious, and once you see that clearly, you'll realize desire doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. So now that you've seen it all, the glances, the contradictions, the teasing, the pullbacks, the projection, all those hidden, coded signs that say, "I want you, but I'll never admit it." What do you do with that? Because awareness is the first step, but it's not the finish line. See, the men who master this, they don't just decode women. They create space for women to feel safe enough to stop hiding. That's the real move. Not pressing, not proving, just holding the frame strong enough for her to let down the mask. Because once you show a woman that you see through the noise, that you're not shaken by the push-pull, that you understand her desire, even better than she does, that's when she relaxes. That's when she leans in. That's when she drops the act and becomes real with you. And the truth is, most guys will never get here. They'll keep chasing, second-guessing, getting friend-zoned, ghosted, or confused, because they're reacting to what she says, not what she feels. But not you. Not anymore. Because now you're starting to see the patterns. You're learning the language she's been speaking all along, without words. And if you've made it this far in the video, you're not the average guy. You're one of the few willing to look deeper, to actually understand this game instead of just playing it blind. And that's why I built this channel. To have this kind of conversation, to break through the surface, To give men like you the tools, mindset, and awareness that most never develop. So now I'll ask you something real. If this video gave you clarity, if it woke something up in you, then don't keep it to yourself. Drop a comment. Tell me which sign hit hardest. Or share an experience where you saw one of these patterns, but didn't know what it meant. I read every single one, and the best part? Other men do too. Because this isn't just about one video. It's about building a space where men can evolve, where we stop guessing and start seeing clearly, where we raise our standard, not just in dating, but in how we carry ourselves. So hit that like button. Share this with a brother who needs to hear it. And if you're not subscribed yet, you already know what to do. This is just one layer of the game. There's so much more to uncover. So stick with me, because the next video, we're going even deeper. And trust me, she'll feel the difference.